Hi friends, I'm Gio, and welcome to my channel. We're starting a new werewolf series, and it's going to be several parts. I'm not sure how many yet. We're going to leave Corey and Lucas and the crew, and move on to someone else. I hope you enjoy. This sequence is called Frost Moon. Let's begin. Part 1. November 19th. The day had kept a little of the summer's warmth, but it was early evening with a cloudy sky, and it was getting cool. I'm William Hargrove, Bill to my friends, age 22, and a senior at the college, double majoring in agriculture and business. Like my older brother, like my father, like my grandfather. Not like my great-grandfather. He's still alive and lives with us. Though he's 90 now and only past 8th grade, my great-grandfather was a simple man. But he knew more about raising cattle than the rest of my family put together. We live on the old family homestead, Castleback Ranch, 30,000 acres near the southern border of Colorado. The Rockies are not too far to the west. In fact, the western part of the ranch has some great riding trails through the pines and scrub. I've often ridden them with my boyfriend. We used to ride snowmobiles in the winter and horses in the summer. It was July, a few years ago, when Clint and I rode out there and spent an intimate afternoon, just the two of us. The day I lost my virginity. I still miss Clint, and I'll never forgive Grandpa. My parents and grandparents have my life all planned out. What would be the best courses in college? What would be the most efficient degrees? Theirs, of course. They have my future wife, Sarah, picked out. And the minimum number of grandkids I'll give them. What church I'll have my wedding in. Everything. They even have a fund set aside for my wedding, and have said I will get married the summer I graduate. This summer. And they expect the first grandkid within a year. Both them and Sarah's parents have arranged everything. I'm dreading this summer. Yes, I've told them I'm gay. Yes, I've told them I'm not following their plans. No, it did not matter. The thing is, I don't like Sarah. I don't like taking care of the ranch, or cattle, or even farming. I want to go to Greece. I wanted to take Clint, now my ex-boyfriend, to Athens, and maybe elope, and have a secret honeymoon. My parents found out about Clint somehow, and won't hear of it. Hell, did we fight? Grandpa got involved. I either do as he says, or I'm disinherited and cut off from the family. Grandpa cast Clint out, telling him to never come back. I haven't seen Clint for almost a year. They forced the man I love out of Colorado. According to Dad, he joined the Navy and is on a carrier somewhere. I will never forgive them. According to my grandparents and parents, Sarah will be my wife. This is a marriage of opportunity for them. Grandpa needed the money to fund his election campaign. Sarah's dad needs Grandpa's political clout to push a new shopping mall through the red tape. Grandpa is a political powerhouse, as in he's the Honorable Senator Hargrove, and soon-to-be presidential candidate Robert Hargrove. Needless to say, I'm having second thoughts about the direction of my life. As I polished my glasses, I stared out the kitchen window, looking west through blurry vision. I'm nearsighted. The sun was slowly sinking below the mountains, a beautiful sunset filled with golds and oranges, and it made the mountains gold as well. You had best watch out, old Marie said. She was our ancient cook, brought over from France by my grandmother 30 or 40 years ago. "Why's that?" I asked. Old Marie wiped her hands on her apron and came to stand by me. "My mama, God bless her soul, called that a fire sky. It burns up all the good things. But it's worse. It's the first full moon tonight, the frost moon, the pumpkin moon, the beaver moon. But Mama never called it any of those. With the sadness on your face, the old name is most appropriate." "What did she call it?" I asked. Old Marie pulled an old sterling silver rosary from her pocket, made the sign of the cross, then kissed the rosary's silver cross. "The mourning moon. My old bones tell me there will be violence and death tonight. Be careful." I stared at the beautiful clouds, seeing them churn like fire. Its beauty made me ache inside. My parents had ruined my life in the name of their ambition. Old Marie wiped a tear from my eye. I didn't know I shed it. "Is your life so bad?" she softly asked, giving me a quick motherly squeeze. I only nodded. How could I tell her about Clint, or about being trapped by my family? Taking my hand, old Marie placed her rosary in my palm. "My great-great-grandfather gave this to his wife on their wedding night. Let it protect you," old Marie said. "Marie, I'm not Catholic, and I can't take this. You need to pass it down to your children," I said. She patted my hand and closed my fingers around the gift. "Who taught you how to cook when your mother does not even know how to boil water, and your grandmother's nose is aimed at the sky? Who taught you how to tie a tie when your father was too busy golfing and your grandfather sat on his butt in Washington? Who helped you clean up the mess when you broke your grandmother's ugly serving dish?" "It looked like a pregnant rooster," I said, chuckling. Marie smiled. "I won't tell you what I thought it looked like. Who helped you read when the teacher said you needed a tutor and your mother would not hire one, afraid the neighbors would think she raised a stupid son? Who helped you make that crazy map of Colorado out of salt dough for your third-grade class when your father spent his nights at the bar? I raised you. You are my child, William," old Marie said. "My mom and dad never did anything," I said, shocked at the bitterness inside. I quickly gave Marie a smile. "Do you need some help?" Just like so many times over the years, old Marie handed me a potato peeler. For the next little while, I helped peel boiled potatoes and then took melted butter and cream and a little chopped bacon and took my frustrations out on mashing those potatoes. That felt good. I prefer the old name for the full moon, too, because I'm trapped. The mourning moon. Grandma peeked into the kitchen and scowled. "William Zachary Hargrove, you are not one of the servants. Get out of the kitchen. Men do not cook. Ever. If your grandfather found out about this, he'd tan your hide and then fire Marie. And Marie, you should know better. Dinner will be out on the table in exactly 30 minutes. "Sorry, ma'am," old Marie said, bowing her head. "My grandma fixed her laser sights on me," she said. "Look at you, all dirty. I can't believe you've shamed me. Not at all like your brother. He's given me a great-grandchild. William, get changed and get to the dining room. Our guests are here," she sniped. It was a co-op ranch, shared and run by 3 families, the Cravens, the Hargroves, and the Millers. Next spring, it will be us and the Millers. The Cravens are getting out of the cattle industry. Either Grandpa buys them out, or they sell their lands to some developer, and it eventually becomes condos and a shopping mall. I cleaned up and dressed in the brand-new fitted tuxedo one of the servants had left for me, made by my family's favorite saints, Dolce & Gabbana. Nothing but the most expensive for my family. No doubt Grandma had picked it out because Mom was too busy with her friends. Tonight is Friday, the 19th of November, the mourning moon. I hate my life. 20 minutes later, I'm taking my seat in the large dining room with my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandpa, my older brother, his wife and baby, Sarah, her parents, and her younger sister, her husband, and their baby. My seat was next to Sarah. I'm sure Grandma planned that one. It was a formal dinner party with great-grandma's antique fine china and solid silver knives and forks with gold-leaf decoration. The men wore tuxes and black bow ties, and the women wore formal wear and spent all afternoon at the beauty salon. Mom didn't. She had her own private stylist come over every morning. Sarah wore a sheer pink off-the-shoulder gown that was supposed to be sexy, at least to other guys. It did nothing for me. She had a coy, playful smile on her lips and wore a Christian Dior perfume. Night's ecstasy. She leaned over and whispered, "Do you think they'd miss us if we snuck out?" Mom stood next to me, standing guard, and probably heard everything. Sarah's dad stood near Sarah and never stopped talking to my grandfather. I took a sip of the wine to avoid answering Sarah. Now would be the perfect time to tell her that I can't marry her, no matter what my family said. Except my mother gave a soft clap and said, "Dinner is served." Marie brought out the meal. First came a delicate salad with pomegranate seeds and feta cheese and homemade croutons, drizzled with a pomegranate dressing. Then arrived the roast beef simmered until it fell apart, gravy made from the drippings, mashed potatoes, steamed carrots, fresh-baked buns, and homemade blackberry jelly. For dessert, a peach tart tatin with homemade vanilla bean and chocolate shavings ice cream, made with vanilla imported from India and chocolate imported from Denmark. Sarah's parents had brought the wine, a 30-year-old Cabernet Sauvignon from Beauvin, a vineyard in southern France. My grandfather raised his wineglass in a toast. "To the union of our two families. Since this evening is in your honor, William, would you slice the roast beef, please?" We all toasted, but mine was only polite. I used the knife to cut the roast beef. The knife was so sharp, it sliced the beef to the bone. "This night celebrates something special between William and Sarah," Sarah's dad said. But I knew what he really meant. With mine and Sarah's union, Grandfather would help push the mall project forward. A dreaded horror flooded my stomach. Tonight's purpose became clear. They expected me to propose to a woman I barely knew and didn't like. The knife slipped in my hand, cutting my palm. I covered my hand with the cloth napkin to keep from bleeding on dinner. The napkin absorbed the blood. My grandmother noticed the stained napkin and disapproved. She stared at my grandfather. "Dear, you finish," then nodded at my father. My father shoved a ring box in my hand and whispered, "This is a good time." My family had ambushed me. One way or another, they'd make sure I'd propose. Either I did, or they did it for me. My bleeding hand began to throb, but I ignored it. The knife had gone deep. I gave Dad a cold smile and shoved the box in my pocket. I wasn't their son. I was a commodity used to buy and trade their political favors. I couldn't do anything about it. I'm powerless. I'm impotent. I'm useless. My throat went dry. I have no say in my life. My needs and wants are not important when compared with the family. "You know what we expect you to do. Sarah is expecting it as well," Dad whispered. This life wasn't what I wanted. Empty-headed Sarah wasn't who I wanted. I found her beautiful, but not sexy, not desirable. She did nothing to excite me, not like Clint had. Face it, the family ranch wasn't what I wanted, but I had no say anymore. My parents stared at me, and Mom gave me the subtle nod for me to get on with it. When I didn't move or speak, she tapped her glass with a knife. The sound was like a church bell tolling the death of my dreams. "William has something he wants to ask you, Sarah," Mom said with her sweetest smile. Grandpa cut the roast beef. At that moment, I hated my family. "William?" Dad said. Once again, I said nothing. "William's a little shy tonight," Mom said, with the perfect mimicry of someone who cared. "My son wants to propose. Sarah, what do you say?" Fight or flight. I chose flight. "Excuse me," I said, pulling out my phone, pretending I had a call. "I need to take this." Dad gave me an icy grin and said, "This is more important." At Mom's slightly insulted expression, I replied, "I'll take it outside." Mom almost shouted but kept her voice under control. "Sarah, what is your answer?" "It would make me very happy, and I'd be honored," Sarah said. Mom said, "See, it's settled. Wasn't that easy, William?" Grandma used her most charming voice when she said, "Welcome to the family, Sarah. We'll hold the wedding here, of course. Mid-April is always a good time, and if the honeymoon is kind, your baby will have a February birthday." Dad hid an odd, sour smirk. Grandpa gave me a stare that dared me to say otherwise. I adjusted my glasses and fled outside into the cool air, away from my parents, away from the hell of my life, away from the future dictated for me. The cut still bled, and it hurt. Was it bad enough to need stitches? The moon was full and silver, cold and large just over the eastern horizon. The mourning moon. Arranged marriages weren't supposed to happen anymore. They did. They just had different names. A wolf howled in the distance, but something about it made goose pimples form all over my arms and neck. At least it was free. I walked to clear my head, walked to get away from my family, walked to find some peace, walked away from the destiny planned for me. I wanted to find myself, so I walked east, towards the moon, towards the silvery light, towards the morning moon. 5 minutes later, a gunshot. I looked up. Something dark surged from the shadows of the fence posts. Another gunshot. "Run," some man yelled. One of the ranch hands. A shotgun clicked and cocked. Something moved again. A large animal. Its eyes terrified me. My blood froze. Silver eyes blazed silver fire. Moon silver. The ranch hand screamed something. The shotgun went off again. The darkness moved. The silver eyes paused, looking at me, into me. A dark gray wolf, but bigger than any wolf I'd ever seen. It was at least 7 feet long, from nose to tail, and easily 150 pounds. The moonlight glinted off the spittle frothing on its lips, on the bright teeth that seemed to glow in its huge mouth. The fangs, easily 2 inches long, gleamed with fresh blood. Blood coated its pelt from chin to forepaws. It had killed recently and not been neat about it. The beast stood 10 feet from me, its breath puffs of foulness in the cool air. It growled, the sound low and terrible, and I shook. It sniffed the air and focused on my hand with the blood-stained cloth. A drop of blood dripped from my hand. The wolf licked its lips. With a growl, it locked its eyes on mine. I don't know how I knew, but if I looked away, it would kill me. We were in a battle for domination. My death was in its eyes. Even from here, its breath smelled like blood and raw meat. What had it killed? My heart pounded in my chest, faster and faster. The large silver moon was behind it. A word, a whisper, a thought was in the air. The morning moon. I returned the stare. Though scared, I did not shirk. I did not back down. The beast paced in front of me, but never let its glare waver. Pure hate, pure anger, pure unadulterated rage. I mustn't glance away. The second I did, I was dead. Those silver glowing eyes bored into my soul. A soft perfume, a Christian Dior, gently wafted in the soft breeze. Something clinked like glass. She had brought wine glasses and a bottle of the Cabernet Sauvignon. Oh no. Sarah. She spoke in the most seductive way she could, unaware of the danger. Hey, love, it's dark and we're alone. Let's celebrate our engagement. The darkness with silver eyes broke contact with me and focused on Sarah. The girl didn't know that death hunted her. It lunged towards Sarah, as fast as a shadow. "Run, you idiot," I screamed, and tackled the beast. We rolled. It was strong, but I wouldn't let it harm the girl. I kept my grip. My glasses went flying. The wolf was frantic in its bloodlust, clawing me, slicing me, biting me. I pounded it, I hit it, I clawed at it. I wouldn't let go. "Run," I yelled. Sarah did not move, but dropped the glasses and the wine. She screamed and screamed and screamed. A gunshot, loud, close. "Get away from him," the ranch hand yelled. He cocked the shotgun and took aim. Sarah wouldn't stop screaming. She only stood there. The wolf howled, ripped at me, tore at me, savaged me, slicing me, biting me, killing me. And suddenly, it stopped and howled in pain. The air smelled of burnt fur. It broke free, running into the night. A glint of silver reflected the moon. Maria's antique silver rosary around my neck. It steamed and burned. It saved my life. I lay on the ground, broken, bleeding, hurting, screaming. My throat raw, pain flooded every nerve. Sarah screamed and screamed. Or was it me? I felt the blood oozing out of a giant wound on my side, across my chest, my hands sticky with my own blood, my tuxedo shredded and covered in blood. My blood. "Oh my God," Mom yelled. "Somebody call an ambulance," Grandpa yelled. "Stay away or you'll get your dress bloody," Dad yelled. Sarah didn't come close. Neither did my parents or my grandparents. The moon did. I hated the moon, its silver, the way it stared at me, and I screamed at it. "William, I'm here, my child," a woman said, holding my hand. "Old Marie." "Help me take him into the house, to the couch. Get the towels and hot water," Marie screamed. My grandma shrieked, "Call the servants to carry him." "No, not the living room. The blood will stain the furniture," Mom screamed. My one thought, even if I liked Sarah, she had been useless. The screaming finally stopped. Or maybe I had passed out. Blessed oblivion blotted out the silver moon. The end. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for part 1 of this new series. I appreciate it. Part 2 will be coming as soon as I write it. Thanks for joining me. Peace.